quite alarming how there was absence of 360-degree parking cameras. Never innovate, but they always take bread and butter and they bring it to a very high level of near perfection. Oh, I love this comparison! And I love the Kia Sorento, and I also love the Skoda Kodiaq. Hello everyone! Alright, so today I am going to do a comparison video between two crossover SUVs which are quite popular, the Kia Sorento and the Skoda Kodiaq. Now the reason why I chose these two crossover SUVs for comparison is because these two crossover SUVs are quite popular, especially here in the EU market, in Belgium, guys. Well, actually, the Skoda Kodiaq is quite popular. It dominates the Belgian roads, along with its sister model, the Volkswagen Tiguan. The Kia Sorento, it had a fluctuating reputation. Like, sometimes you'd see it, sometimes you just wouldn't. Especially the first generation. The first generation was there, but then it vanished very quickly because year by year there were environmental initiatives being taken in the EU market. And Belgium was no exception, guys. Belgium took environmental initiatives quite quickly, which brought extinction to many crossover SUVs that had huge engines in them. The fourth generation Kia Sorento was released only last year. And believe it or not, I see at least one driving on our roads today. Like, can you believe it? The third generation did not achieve much fame, but this fourth generation is quite popular. Alright guys, now let's get down to the comparison. Now, there's something I'm going to remark. The Skoda Kodiaq is quite a young model when you think about it. It's very popular. It sells like hot cakes. I see at least 4 different Skoda Kodiaqs on a daily basis, or at least 3, along with its sister model, as I mentioned earlier, the Volkswagen Tiguan. It was released in 2016. That's when it started selling like hotcakes. Whereas the Kia Sorento model was released in 2002, and that too, the Kia Sorento does not only have European presence, it also has global presence. In fact, they have quite a big name in the United States of America. In the North American market, they have quite a big name. And that's not equivalent for Skoda, unfortunately. In fact, I don't know what is it about Volkswagen, but Volkswagen is barely surviving in North America. The only reason the Volkswagen Group are surviving in North America is primarily because of their premium segment. Primarily from Audi, Porsche, Bugatti and Bentley. These are the cars that are basically saving Volkswagen in North America. Otherwise, Volkswagen has barely any presence, especially when I'm talking about Volkswagen cars in particular. So that's where Kia has already an upper hand over the Skoda Kodiaq. The Kia Sorento has global presence, or at least more recognition, whereas the Skoda Kodiaq appears to be isolated to certain countries. Before I get down to the comparison of the Skoda Kodiaq and the Kia Sorento, I would first like to briefly touch a point about the two companies, Kia and Skoda. Skoda is a Czech company that was born in the EU market, and basically they have a reputation for being, first of all, they have a reputation for being super practical and super cyclist friendly. The reputation Skoda has, in my view, I always saw Skoda as the brand where they are super practical and they have Volkswagen's quality. So it's practicality and quality combined. That's how I see Skoda. And Skoda has a reputation for building cars that are practical because for a long time they always got consistently good ratings for being fun to live with, family friendly and practical. It's like every time you see a family, they're sure to have a Skoda. Even Skoda Fabia's got highly praised for that matter. Now on the topic of Kia, Kia has quite an interesting reputation. When it comes to the EU market, they seem... They were first introduced somewhere in the 80s. In the 80s or in the 90s. They were born in the South Korean market, but they did expand very quickly thanks to the EU market and the North American market. However, their expansion in the EU market was a bit delayed compared to the North American market, I feel, because here in the EU market, they seemingly skyrocketed in fame in the 2010s. There was a time in the 2000s when Kia was basically building cars that were not at all desirable and that were just plastic and just not interesting to look at, not desirable, just super dull. But then at the same time, people consistently praised Kias through all those years for being great value for money. Everyone consistently kept saying Kias are great value for money. That was the only advantage Kia cars had. Alright, now with that aside, we're gonna get down to the comparison between the Skoda Kodiaq and the Kia Sorento. Okay, guys, first thing first I'm gonna do is I am gonna go on the website of both companies. So I went on their website and there's something interesting going on. So basically, according to the website of Skoda and the website of Kia, the Skoda Kodiaq starts at a price, give or take, of between 32,000 euros to 34,000 euros. That is the starting price of the Skoda Kodiaq, guys. Whereas when it comes to the Kia Sorento, there's something that's a bit interesting that's going on. There is a diesel version of the Kia Sorento, which starts at a price of give or take 48,000 euros. Okay, so that's the lowest price. But listen, Skoda Kodiaq, 32 to 34,000 euros. 32 to 34. Kia Sorento starts at a price of give or take 48,000 euros. So that's a very big price difference, guys. Already you can establish that yes, the Kia Sorento is expensive, but you'll know why I beg to differ. You will see in a moment why. Just bear with me, alright? Just bear with me, because something is not what it seems. Let me continue. So basically, according to the Kia website, there's a Sorento hybrid, and then there's a Sorento plug-in hybrid. The Sorento hybrid starts at a price of 50,000 euros, and the Sorento plug-in hybrid starts at a price of between 57 to 58,000 euros. Now, plug-in hybrids are always more expensive than the other hybrids and the combustion engines. The Sorento normal, which is a diesel engine, which starts at 48,000 euros, is first of all not worth it because it's a 2.3 or 2.2 liter engine diesel, which would be super expensive to tax. And I think the only person who would ever buy this would be someone who lives on the highway. That's a metaphor to say basically someone who travels a lot on the highway, you know, like they have to travel for work. Guys, and whereas on the Skoda website, I see that the most expensive Skoda Kodiaq you can get costs 60,000 euros. And yeah. All right. And there's also another interesting observation I just made when I looked at both websites and when I looked at also many other sources. Unfortunately, the Skoda Kodiaq only offers a 1.5 petrol engine, or a 2-liter petrol engine, or a 2-liter diesel engine. But that's all they offer. That's a bit of an irony, guys, because the EU market demands more environmental initiatives, and so we would be expecting that since Skoda lives in the EU market, they should be the one to adapt the fastest to changes, to demands. But it seems like here in this case, what's happening is the South Korean brand, Kia, they adapted quicker than Skoda did. Because the South Korean crossover SUV, Kia Sorento, it offers a 1.6 hybrid petrol engine. And the same engine also goes to the plug-in hybrid petrol. 1.6, guys. I repeat, 1.6 hybrid petrol. This is very interesting what's going on over here. Like, the Kia Sorento offers that engine, and that's not the similar case for the Skoda Kodiaq. Apart from my research on the internet, I decided to go on a quest to investigate what exactly is the similarity and difference between the Skoda Kodiaq and the Kia Sorento. First of all, okay, there's barely any similarity between the two crossover SUVs, but I think the only similarity the two crossover SUVs would have is that they both are perfect for families. I don't usually use the word perfect, but on this occasion, I have to use the word perfect because the Skoda Kodiaq has unquestionable amounts of practicality solutions, whereas the Kia Sorento has unquestionable amounts of space in the interior, and that too, unquestionable amounts of options list. I mean, the interior was loaded with goodies in the Kia Sorento, whereas the Skoda Kodiaq had just practicality solutions all over the interior and the Volkswagen quality. Basically, as part of my quest, I went over to see an actual Kia Sorento, and I went over to see an actual Skoda Kodiaq. So I went over, saw the Skoda Kodiaq face to face, and the Kia Sorento face to face. I sat in both cars, I looked at them from every angle, I looked at their price tags, I looked at every single detail possible, and boy is the difference quite alarming. So the Kia Sorento I saw costed 58,000 euros. It was a 1.6 hybrid petrol engine, and it was a normal hybrid system. So when you push the brakes, it recharges the battery automatically for you. So that's the technology the Kia Sorento came with. 58,000 euros, and believe it or not, the car was fully loaded. Fully loaded. Top of the range, fully loaded. All the beauties and all the equipment you desire in the interior, guys. Ventilated and heated front seats, heated steering wheel, sunroof. It was just countless amounts of option which you would dream of having, including leather seats, guys. It was like a premium car, basically. I have to point out that both seats, the driver and the passenger seat, they get electric seating adjustments. That's a plus. And also you get lots of safety gears, including 360-degree parking camera. The car was top of the top of the top. It was fully loaded with all the desirable equipments which you would expect to have on your dream car, whether it's a car of 80,000 euros. I sat on the passenger seat next to the driver. I adjusted it according to my comfort, and I felt like I was actually in a premium car, guys. I mean, I could just sit, I looked out the window and I was like, yep, they see me rolling. I mean, that's how good the Kia Sorento was. The thing to note about the Kia Sorento is that it looks like a crossover SUV, but when you sit inside, it does not remind you that it's a crossover SUV. It felt as though like I was in a luxury car, like something like a Mercedes E-Class or so, you know, with everything in the interior cocooning you and, you know, everything at your reach and such. It was just very, very nice and quite techy as well. The Kia Sorento was also quite spacious, and impressively enough, it had the quality all over the interior. In fact, the third row seat had climate control. Yes, literally, guys. The third row had climate control. I've never seen this before, guys. I mean, usually climate control for the third row was mostly a North American thing, or it was mostly a thing which only premium brands in the EU market would offer. And overall, the impression I had of the Kia Sorento was that it's, for a price of 58,000 euros, I felt it was great value for money, and it still lives up to its name because it, well, you see, it had a very, like, it's a crossover SUV, but it looked so premium and it felt very premium. Now over to the Skoda Kodiaq. I saw the Skoda Kodiaq, and I have to say, I sat in it as well. I looked at it from every angle. And I have to say, the Skoda Kodiaq was... Okay, first of all, I'm going to tell you all something important. The Skoda Kodiaq costed 50,000 euros. 50,000 euros, guys. So basically 8,000 euros less than the Kia Sorento, but you will understand something quite interesting. There's something a bit surprising about the Skoda Kodiaq because it did have some equipment missing, but then at the same time it had some equipment you would least expect. Like, for example, the first thing that really struck my mind was the fact that the passenger front seat gets seating memory. Like, literally, guys. Seating memory is usually a thing I'd see the driver's seat having, but for the passenger seat, seating memory? That's something you'd get in a Mercedes S-Class or something, but Skoda gives it to you at that price of 50,000 euros. Okay, that's generous. And also the interior of the Skoda Kodiaq was quite interesting. So I sat in the passenger seat of the Skoda Kodiaq, the front seat next to the driver, and I have to say, compared to the Kia Sorento, despite being around the prices of 50,000 euros and 58,000 euros with only 8,000 euros difference, I have to say that the Skoda Kodiaq does not feel very... I mean, the quality was good, but it didn't feel as premium as the Kia Sorento, if you know what I mean. Like, the Kia Sorento makes you feel like you're in something special. It makes you feel like you're in something more expensive than what its price implies. The thing about Volkswagen Group cars, this is the thing about Volkswagen Group in general. They tend to give you cars that really stick up to their segment. So they will not pretend to be something they aren't. They will always... Like, if you're buying a van, they'll make sure you're driving a van. If you buy a luxury car, they'll make sure you're driving a luxury car. If you want to buy something budget, they'll make sure you're driving something budget. Now, also, another thing I want to point out is that there was some very alarming things about the Skoda Kodiaq I want to point out, and that is, I was actually very surprised by how the front of the Skoda Kodiaq was a bit under-equipped. Like, it did not have 360-degree parking cameras. That's quite questionable in my opinion, because 50,000 euros for a crossover SUV of that segment, a 360-degree parking camera should be standard by that price of 50,000 euros. Because I've seen many crossover SUVs of 40,000 euros, 50,000 euros, and they all include 360-degree parking cameras. The Skoda Kodiaq did not, although on the positive side, it did have parking sensors and it did have a rear view camera. Okay, that's a positive aspect, but it is quite alarming how there was absence of 360-degree parking cameras. And the presence of hard plastic is good because since this is a family car, you're likely to have a lot of things happening. So like you might have to go on adventures, you'll have family sitting in the car, and so at one point there could be a mess in the car and you need to be able to clean it up. The hard plastic is good. It's easy to maintain. Perfect. Skoda thought about that in a good sense. But guys, 50,000 euros. 50,000 euros. The door handle was hard plastic. The window buttons of the Skoda Kodiaq, they looked basic. They looked like something I'd see in a base version C-segment car of 25,000 euros or 20,000 euros. But for a car of 50,000 euros, the presence of hard plastic on the door handle and the part of the door did not feel premium at all. Now I can tell you all something, and that is the Skoda Kodiaq did have the Germanic feel. It did look like it was well built and it did have the Volkswagen quality. That's true. However, the primary advantage I noticed about the Skoda Kodiaq, and that's a reoccurring thing that stuck in my mind, is that there was just practicality solutions all over the interior. It felt like I was in a room or something. It felt like I was at home or something. It didn't really feel like I was in a car when it came to the countless amounts of storage spaces. In fact, Skoda, I think, is one of the smartest car brands when it comes to usage of extra space, especially for the interior. I was actually quite impressed with how this area in front of the passenger seat at the front, there is this thing that opens for extra storage. That's good. And then that too, there were some things like the interior was overall good. One thing I can tell you all is that Skoda's trump card would be the Germanic quality and the fun to drive pleasure, the driving pleasure, and then also the unquestionable practicality. That's the advantage the Skoda Kodiaq has. I mean, it's something that's built for the task, they don't try to be something fancy. The third row did not have extra seating, but that's optional. Extra seats are optional. But yeah, it did have plentiful space at the rear and storage solutions. So that's good. I mean, that's a plus. I mean, that's the Skoda trump card again, guys. Practicality solutions for all over the interior, including the third row seats. Or if there's no third row seats, just the rearmost storage. So here's my conclusion of my comparison between the Kia Sorento and the Skoda Kodiaq. Kia has had a reputation for giving cars that are excellent value for money. In fact, I don't usually use the word perfect, but when it comes to reviewing Kia cars, I always have the inclination of using the word perfect. But perfect is a little too generous, so that's why I always say one of the best value for money. The Kia Sorento was a shock, guys. I mean, it's something like a luxury car, something from, it's like as if it's a car that costed 90,000 euros, but Kia basically offers it to you at a price of 58,000 euros. It's so generous, and it's not very often you see this from many brands. In fact, European brands don't really do this. They don't offer this. This is something Asian brands have had a reputation for doing. The Japanese no longer do this, but I know the South Koreans have been doing this for quite a long time. This time with reliability included. If there's anything I found questionable about the Kia Sorento, it was just the fact that, like other crossover SUVs, Kia has made no use of this vast amount of space in front of the passenger seat at the front, you know? Like the front passenger seat has this thing over the glove box. So you have the glove box down, and then over at the top, you have the part which would be the airbag. But then some manufacturers use it as storage space. And I was thinking, you know, it would be nicer if Kia Sorento could use it as a storage space, but because it has potential. So I love the styling they did. They made it quite interesting, but it looks like a table, but it could have been more interesting if it opened as a storage, you know, like what Skoda has done. The only questionable aspect about the Kia Sorento, which I don't perceive questionable, but the big picture, which some people may perceive questionable, is that to some people, the Kia Sorento may be perceived as expensive only because of the badge. Many people would feel inclined to buy something like a premium car from a premium brand for a price of 58,000 euros. For 58,000 euros, you can get, well, a base version BMW 5 Series or Mercedes E-Class or something. I personally would never do this. In fact, I would appreciate the Kia Sorento the way it is. I love the Kia Sorento the way it is. But unfortunately, badge is a thing. Badge snobs, guys. People who think that anything that's not a premium brand at that price doesn't deserve their time. But you understand what I mean, guys? Like, you know, with the Kia Sorento, you get a lot of benefits. You get a lengthy warranty, a car that's fully loaded. Whereas if you buy something from a premium brand, the only thing you get is status. But then you have options that are missing, because if you want to add more options, that will just elevate the price. On the topic of the Skoda Kodiaq, you see, guys, I wanted to put the Skoda Kodiaq against the Kia Sorento, because for a long time, consistently, everyone has been praising the Skoda Kodiaq. And so, for once and for all, I wanted to get to the bottom of this. I wanted to understand what exactly makes the Skoda Kodiaq interesting. What is it that's so desirable? Well, first of all, Skoda as a brand has an additional advantage compared to Kia. And that additional advantage is that being in the EU market and being associated with the Volkswagen Group, Skoda is one of the most favored brands in Belgium when it comes to company cars. Lots of companies have good connections with the Volkswagen Group brands. That's why whenever you get a Skoda Kodiaq as a company car, you get massive amounts of reductions. So that's possibly why Skoda cars may be perceived as expensive, but in reality, they come with a lot of reductions when you buy them, especially as a company car. Whereas this isn't 100% the same case for Kia cars. Yes, that's the advantage the Skoda Kodiaq has. I think it's the fact that it's got, you know, lots of ties here at the EU market, because the Skoda Kodiaq was born in the EU market, and the Kia Sorento was born globally. Well, actually, the Kia Sorento earned a lot of fame in the Australasian market and in the American market, the North American market. The EU market, the Sorento did not pick up very much as the North American market, but it's only recently they started picking up. So I guess the Skoda Kodiaq always had its advantages over the Kia Sorento, but now when it comes to the big picture, when I'm looking at papers, when I'm looking at details, which I saw face to face, I felt like the Skoda Kodiaq was under-equipped. The thing I've noticed about Volkswagen Group cars, they are good quality. They always achieve consistently 5-star safety ratings. They are one of the funnest cars to drive. They aim for driving pleasure, guys. And the reason being, I said this about a month ago when I reviewed the Skoda Enyaq. Germans never innovate, but they always take bread and butter and they bring it to a very high level of near perfection. That's the Skoda Kodiaq. The Skoda Kodiaq is basically bread and butter taken to high standards. That's not really the case for the Kia Sorento. Now, first of all, before I get down to my opinion, I just want to tell you all that I am very, very sorry if I came across as biased. I am not biased. I was not biased at all. I looked carefully at both crossover SUVs and the differences were very, very conspicuous to me. The Skoda Kodiaq had some options that were visually missing in front of me for a price of 50,000 euros. And that wasn't the case with the Kia Sorento. The Kia Sorento had every part of its interior and every part of its exterior occupied. I looked everywhere and I couldn't find anything questionable. I personally prefer the Kia Sorento, but when I was doing this comparison, I kept my preferences aside and I looked at the big picture. I looked at everything and it looks as though the Kia Sorento has major advantages over the Skoda Kodiaq. If you want the big picture, the big conclusion, I don't think there's any clear winner out of the two. Because the Kia Sorento is excellent value for money, and in this comparison, the Kia Sorento defeats the Skoda Kodiaq. So the Kia Sorento won. But what I also want to say is that the Skoda Kodiaq kind of evens this victory because the Skoda Kodiaq beats the Kia Sorento in terms of public presence and also in terms of reputation in Belgium and also in the EU market. The Skoda Kodiaq has a bigger name in the EU market, and that today are one of the most favorite cars when it comes to company cars, which makes them very popular and which increases sales for the Skoda brand. But then I feel like the Kia Sorento has just one advantage extra over the Skoda. That one advantage the Kia Sorento has is that the Kia Sorento has major presence in the North American market. And they also have presence in Australia. They also have presence in New Zealand. They have presence like almost globally. And this cannot be this is not the similar case for the Skoda Kodiaq. Volkswagen suffers in the North American market, and as I've mentioned earlier, the only reason Volkswagen Group is surviving in North America is primarily because of Audi, Bentley, Bugatti, and Porsche. So you want my opinion of the comparison of the Kia Sorento and the Skoda Kodiaq? Oh, I love this comparison! And I love the Kia Sorento, and I also love the Skoda Kodiaq. The Kia Sorento is excellent value for money. It's my dream car, by the way, and I love the Kia Sorento. But the Skoda Kodiaq is amazing. I love the Skoda Kodiaq. It's so practical. No, seriously, let's be serious, guys. The Skoda Kodiaq deserves credit for being practical and being reputed here in Belgium. At least here in Europe, Skoda has a reputation and they upheld that reputation. And they helped out the quality and the 5-star safety and yeah, like, you know, Skoda is picking up. But I really, really believe that Skoda should be good value for money. They have to be good value for money in the future, in long terms, okay? Because currently, it's a bit of a disappointment with the Volkswagen Group. The most questionable aspect about the Volkswagen Group is that they really, really, really love penalizing you for playing budget. They really insist that you add more options or you buy something more premium from their group. Otherwise, most of the owners of Volkswagen cars are owners who buy it from companies. Like they basically drive Volkswagen cars as company cars. It's very rare you'll see an owner who drives it as their personal car. Alrighty everyone, now before I finish, I just want to quickly touch the topic of other crossover SUVs that could potentially compete with the two competitors I mentioned just now. So Kia Sorento, Skoda Kodiaq. So other competitors, the Peugeot 5008 is also another promising competitor. But the thing is that the Peugeot 5008 looks far more desirable than the Skoda Kodiaq. It looks very, very interesting. It's like a concept car that's brought to life. That's the specialty about the French. But the most questionable aspect about the Peugeot, like every other French car, is their reliability, especially in the winter. I don't know what it is about French cars, but they have terrible problems when it comes to the winter. Last but not least, there is the reliable Toyota RAV4. Yeah, that's it. I mean, the RAV4 is just reliable, but that's about it, guys. Huge engine of 2.5 liters, and then also mishmash interior. Like, I don't know what this is with Toyota. They like to put things at random places. And then also, I like the new design of the RAV4. The current generation is nice, but then at the same time, it's like, there's some, that's all I can say, guys. The RAV4 has the reliability as its trump card, but then it just lacks a lot of things compared to other competitors in the mass market. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned for more videos that are on the run. All right, I'll see you all next time.